House lawmakers set to get an earful from constituents as they take the week off with no end to this leadership drama in sight. But some here say, forget the leader of the House. If you want to see real change in Washington, we need to change the way the entire House is run. Hi, everyone. I'm Brenda Butner. This is Bulls and Bears, and here they are, the Bulls and Bears this week. Gary B. Smith, Jonas Max Ferris, John Layfield, along with Susie Welch and Chuck Rocha. Welcome to everybody. Okay, John, what's more important, changing the leader or changing the system?
Well, the system, of course, because if you change the leader, you just get more of the same. And look, this is not working. Our system is broke. They are reactive. They're not proactive. We don't have a plan for anything. It's hard to believe that this is the Republican Party founded in 1854 by the Whigs and the Free Soil Party, the party of Lincoln, that was responsible for the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment that gave citizens all equal rights. Not like Thomas Jefferson, who said all men are equal while he still owned slaves. They actually wrote it into law. They would not recognize what is going on now with some of the Republican Party. The xenophobic comments, the chasing of rabbits. Instead of doing immigration reform or tax reform, they're going after the president's birth certificate. Or they're trying to take the narrative to emotional level with the Bible Belt of going after the sanctity of marriage when we should have a separation of church and state. And thankfully we do. This is ripe for an independent person to come in here and now and take over. I think America is sick of this two-party system.
Okay, Susie, really change the system? I mean, our system has survived world wars, a civil war, depressions. The forefathers created this system so that it would withstand this type of crisis.
And I think the forefathers did a pretty perfect job of it. I mean, it's like capitalism. People say it's a terrible system, but it's better than all the rest. I mean, I think that what we don't have is a problem with the system so much as we have a problem with the people. And we don't have yet that leader who's willing to be a hero and a fool, the leader who's willing to be heroic in going in and bringing a group of previously unled or long unled Republicans together under a bigger tent, because divided they're going to fall. And that person also has to be a bit of a fool, because you're going to be mocked and you're going to be ridiculed and you're going to be yelled at and you're going to be hated even when their successes. I mean, it's a little bit like being a parent, isn't it? That person has not yet emerged. I hope he or she does, and soon, because the whole system, dismantling the whole system, it just seems like a little bit of overkill, John.
Gary B., who do you agree with?
Well, first of all, I think John for King, it solves pretty much every problem.
We support him.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Second of all, look, this system, Congress has always reacted to crisis. I mean, since the Revolutionary War, they've been in crisis mode, so that's not going to change. What could change, though, is if Congress stepped up and did their responsibilities. Look, Congress was put in to enact the laws, the executive branch to enforce the laws. In the past, I guess, few decades, Congress has let the president get away with writing the laws, as this president has done in recess appointments, pollution, immigration, tax law, things like that. He's using his executive powers basically to usurp what Congress is doing. We get back to the separation of powers as written in the Constitution, we should be just fine.
Jonas, will we be just fine? Change the leader or change the system?
I don't know. I think this system has been, it's a sound system when it was invented, before radio, then TV, and now the internet. And just like today, the internet stars and the TV stars are not the most sensible, normal people that are the smartest in society. They are the biggest cranks, or the people that are the weirdest, or can garnish an audience that will follow them. And that's what each politician is taking advantage of. They are each getting attached to a group of voters. They get to get on TV by saying the most outlandish stuff. They get people vote for them in primaries or whatever, and all of a sudden the game's changed. They're no longer representing the smart people of society who can actually make good policy and agree with each other. They're doing what the founders didn't want us to do, was let the public essentially decree what the laws would be, like you have in California, where they have propositions and you have insanity. And they're not doing their original function as was decided before we had radio. So I think it's getting worse with the internet, and unfortunately I don't know what the solution is.
Well, Chuck, the House is supposed to be the House of the people, though.
That's right. Our forefathers set up the House to be the actual voice of the people, and the Senate was supposed to represent the states. What has happened, and let's do a country boy dig dive into this policy piece, is you have all these state legislators who draw the congressional districts. So you have politicians drawing districts for other politicians, and guess what? They get gerrymandered and put all the Republicans in one, all the Democrats in the other. So when these guys get to D.C., there's no accountability. They're just worried about people on their right or their extreme left. What happened in the old days when the districts were 50-50, people could come together, find some consensus to try try to get something done. Back to what John said, we used to get things done, and now we just have people worried about getting primaried from our right or our left, and you've come to a stalemate and the system is broken.
Okay, John, let's imagine that the government is a business, and I know that's a stretch. How would it work if they shut down, if they didn't get their own way, if employees were paid for and wooed by special interests, crisis management? How would that work?
Well, let's imagine it is a business, Brenda. Imagine how many big senior vice presidents or executive vice presidents in these huge companies in America could be a politician. I would say all of them. Or how many politicians could actually do their job. I would say a very, very small percentage. Things change. Look, the reason you have a 5-week vacation in August is because you didn't have air conditioning in Washington, D.C. We get air conditioning, and these bums now still take a 5-week break. So the Founding Fathers never dreamed that these guys would be so bought by special interest. President Putin wanted the port of Tartus in Syria and the Crimea port for a decade. He worked toward that. We don't have a 10-day plan for anything. This system is horribly broken. Do you want more of the same? I don't. Throw them all out. Find a way to start over. Add an extra party, or we're going to get more of the same. And Americans deserve better than this.
But Susie, isn't it our fault in part? I mean, we are electing these people.
Yes, and I think actually the irony is that if you ask most Americans, is Washington broken, they'd all say, yes, it's broken, and I wish that it was fixed. And I mean, when is there going to be a politician who says you asked for it to be fixed, and I'm willing to fall on my sword to get it fixed? This is what you asked for. That is the person who needs to step forward. And I do think that Americans deep down, underneath their special interests, would all agree that a functional America is the higher purpose, and that they would rally behind a person, a man or a woman who came forward and was able to deliver that.
But Jonas, that person will likely lose his or her job because they're taking on things like entitlements, and the truth is that people don't want that to change.
The problem is, just to your point, is they're telling people, they're not just telling people what they want to hear, they're actually trying to do what these people want, and that is where the problems are happening, because there's people are elected for different reasons, and they are going to butt heads and never come to a consensus, and the nation is going to suffer in the long run because we're not doing policy that actually benefits the most people.
Chuck?
For the first time in American history, you see independent outscaling Republicans or Democrats. I do elections for a living. There's a reason why you see this rise with Donald Trump and you see this rise with Bernie Sanders, because on each side there's so much frustration over a system and a government that people don't really think reflects their values or gets anything done. And I think that you have a unique chance of history now as a political consultant, talking about things that we've never seen before, which is a true revolution of ideas.
Well, we have seen a crisis like this before in the late 1800s. It took months and 100 ballots to elect a speaker. John?
Yeah, it has. And we've gone through some crisis before, but we've got to change the system. Look, Susie is right. You're not going to find a guy that's going to be able to fall on his sword. So you have to take that option away. You have to take away these special interest groups that are out there that can influence and buy these politicians. And until you do, you're going to have the apathy. Look, I don't have a party in America. I am the majority of Americans. So you have to choose between the lesser of two evils. Is it the Republicans or is it the Democrats? Look, with Murdoch, a guy like Mr. Murdoch, Rupert Murdoch, a guy like Mayor Bloomberg runs, a guy like that gets elected right now because they are so fed up with the two parties.
All right, Jonas, last word, 20 seconds.
I'm blaming people. I think we're not going to fix the system, so we're going to have to blame the voters. They're going to have to vote for more sensible candidates who are not so like them.
Okay, you're not going to get elected. Forget about that King thing, okay?
Speaker, that's for
All
sure.
right, okay. Thanks, guys. And Cavuto on business in about 20 minutes from now. Hey, Neil, what do you got?
Hey, Brenda, now imagine your boss ignoring you every step of the way, shoving every one of your ideas aside. Is that why these GOP leaders are getting the shove right now? It's coming back to bite them. And one guy has a tax plan that requires everyone pay something. The other wants even more Americans to pay nothing. Which plan will get the economy going? Find out. We'll see you soon.
You will. We can't wait. But up here first. The Donald saying the government seizing Americans' private property can actually be good for America. Other candidates disagree. Who's right? The debate next.